Hey, thanks for stopping by. My name is Tyler, and today we're going to talk about kind of how the CKA has been going. If you guys didn't know, that is my current certification. It is the Certified Kubernetes Administrator. I have been working on it for the past 3 months here, and I wanted to make a video talking about what I've done so far, what I still think I need to do, and what I'm a little bit worried about. So, let's go ahead and get into it. So, starting off at the beginning, the first thing I did was I watched a course by Zielvora on Udemy. It was all right. I have a couple positive and a couple negative things to talk about in regards to that course. So we'll get the negative out of the way first. The big thing that was kind of distracting during that course was just how quickly he kind of dove into stuff. One of the first things you did was set up a managed Kubernetes cluster and start building stuff in it, which on one hand is awesome. You really get to start getting your feet wet and start doing stuff. But at least for me, I do like a little bit of kind of less hands on learning at first, where I can get the concepts down and then go ahead and build something using those concepts later. So it was a little bit tricky for me to get through just because I felt like I was rushed through everything, with everything being just kind of so quick in that course. But I do think it was a good course. I think it's worth a watch. It's not super expensive on Udemy, so if you're willing to shell out, I think it was like $15. I definitely think it's at least worth a watch. So that was the first thing I did. I didn't take notes or anything on that. I just kind of followed along. I didn't really get a lot of super deep concepts out of it, just because, like I mentioned before, I feel like it went so fast that I was just trying to copy the stuff on the screen rather than really thinking about what these commands were doing. So, moving on from that, the second thing I did was I actually went ahead and got another course. And this next course was by Mumshad Monembeth, I think is how you pronounce his name. So, this was another Udemy course. I actually got it on sale for like $30 from like 200. So I got a pretty good deal on that just because I hit the Udemy Black Friday sale. So super exciting. Very happy about that. But if it is off sale, I do have to mention it is definitely a more expensive course. However, I think this course is awesome. I really felt like I was walked through the topics at a good pace. I feel like I got a lot from the course. I really could look at a set of commands or look at the output of a like show logs command. That's not the actual command, but you get what I'm saying. I could start to piece stuff together, and I could kind of go out on my own and build my own little projects. Like one of them I did was I hooked up a service to a deployment, and I actually had it set up so I had my own Docker image set up for my pods in my deployment. So when you went ahead and visited this service, you actually got this kind of custom web page rather than just your standard Nginx or HTTPD web page. So that was kind of a fun little project I did. Nothing too crazy, but I don't know, it was fun. So I went ahead and watched through that whole course, did all of the labs once. After I finished going through that, I went ahead and actually read the Certified Kubernetes Administrator Study Guide by Benjamin Mushko, and I think it was worth a read. I don't feel like I got a ton out of it. I did like that it really forced me to sit down and kind of read some of these commands and read these outputs rather than just copy pasting my way through the docs. Even though during the test you are allowed to look at the docs, I still think it's important to get familiar with these commands. So it was good. I mean, I don't have anything exciting to say about it. I mean, it was good. It was worth a read. You could probably go without it. If you guys are new here, I am somebody that likes to kind of over prepare for my certifications, or study as much as I possibly can before going into the test, just because I don't want to go in there and bomb it, because nobody likes that feeling, and I don't want to waste $400 taking the exam just to fail it. So I like to do all the things: courses, books, practice tests, the whole nine yards. So that was all the stuff I've done up until now. And what I'm currently doing is I'm actually going back through Mumshad's course and taking notes on everything. So I'm actually watching the course and making myself take pretty detailed notes on all the videos in the course. I think there's like 300 different lectures. Some of those are labs, some of those are lab solutions. I'm only doing it on the actual course content. Right now, I'm about 30% of the way through the course, and my notes page is already at, I think, over 20 pages. So it's definitely going to be kind of a grueling process to get through this whole course and finish up that note sheet. But I like doing that because it makes me slow down and really digest all of the content from these videos. Whereas when I'm just watching them, sometimes I'll find myself going through the course and getting most of the key points, but kind of forgetting some of those smaller details, which isn't the worst thing in the world, but I don't know. You could get a question that is a whole bunch of those small details put together and get the question wrong. So I like to be very thorough. So once I finish up my notes, there are still a couple things I think I need to do before I'm ready for the test. So the first thing I need to do is practice tests. I heard Killer SH had some super stellar practice tests, so those are definitely going to get done. But before that, I actually want to see if I can find a set of practice tests on Udemy or something, just so I can do maybe like a cheaper set of practice tests that are maybe a little bit further away from the exam, but really still testing my knowledge. So then if I bomb this other set of practice tests, I can go back and watch through the course or do whatever I need to do, maybe more labs, and get really good at that first set of practice tests before I go and move on to the Killer SH ones, which evidently are like the gold standard. And I would hate to waste those practice test attempts not having anywhere close to the knowledge that I need to answer these questions. Because what I've found is what tends to happen with practice tests is you'll take your practice test the first time and do really bad on it. And then you'll take it another time and you'll do better. And that's awesome. The improvement is good all the time, of course. Not saying it's not. But what can tend to happen is you can start to just kind of memorize the answers. And that is not at all what I want to do, especially not on this exam, because if you guys are not familiar, this exam is like a 3-hour test with like 20 something questions. And every single question is a scenario based question where you're sitting in front of a command line solving a problem. So it is definitely not possible to just learn a bunch of little tidbits of information and pass a test. I mean, I really have to make sure I know what I'm doing before I test. So that's what I have planned out so far. Obviously, that can change. I mean, shoot, maybe I get to the practice tests and I'm just killing it and I go ahead of schedule and I end up taking the test in a month and a half. That would be super cool. I don't think it's going to happen, but there's a chance. So that's all the study materials I have done and am doing and still need to do. I do want to talk about one thing that kind of worries me a lot about this exam, which is the testing environment. So, from what I've read, you can't go and take this test at a testing center, which means you have to get everything set up on your personal laptop to be able to take this test. And in my experience, that's not a fun thing to do. I I've looked into it and it's so much easier for me to just go to a testing center, where I walk in and everything is ready. I really like that experience. But for this exam, I don't think I have a choice. So I have to make sure I get my laptop ready for this test, which I've heard can kind of be a pain. I like to believe I'm getting okay-ish at computers, so I should be able to figure it out, but not really looking forward to that. And then the other thing that really, really scares me is all of the reports of really, really bad testing environments, and not so much like the room you're in, like the actual. I don't know if it's a virtual machine you're signed on to or what, but the actual console experience in the test I've heard is pretty abysmal. I've heard it's kind of riddled with technical difficulties and bugs and just silly little issues. And I really don't need that. I mean, the last thing I want when I'm taking a certification test, when I'm already like scared half to death, is the lab to crash and for someone on the, it's not Pearson who does this test, whoever does this test, their IT guy to come in for 15 minutes to solve my problem, and then I'm down 15 minutes in my test. So, with all the reports I've been reading of things like that commonly happening in people's CKA exams, I'm pretty nervous that that will be a factor in my test. So, not looking forward to technical problems, but that's okay. We're not there. We'll cross that bridge when we get there. So, yeah, for now I'm just kind of cranking away on my notes here. I'm trying to write them in a way that when I'm done with them, I can publish them to you guys, because I know with the solutions architect, people wanted to see my notes here. Actually, they're sitting right here. All of these papers are my solutions architect notes, and I went through and defined every single thing on the exam objectives. So I want to write them in a way where I can hand them off to you guys, and maybe it can help you study as well. But just cranking through that, and then once I'm done, obviously I'll start practice tests. And yeah, we'll just kind of play it by ear. Obviously, I'll keep you guys in the know. Don't worry, I'm not gonna hold secrets. That's kind of all I had for you guys. So I appreciate you watching. If you have any advice for the CKA, please drop it below. If you're just as nervous as me for your CKA, CCNA, Network Plus, whatever certification you're studying for, let me know. Maybe I've taken it and I can give you some words of motivation. So, with that being said, I will end it off here, guys. Have a great rest of your week.